Hi, good morning. I'm Henry Nguyen, and I'm honored to have Mr. Ildong Kwon here from BCG as we talk about Vietnam and the challenges it faces as it sets its very ambitious goals to becoming a high-income, first-tier nation by 2045. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Henny, for inviting me.
What advice could you give to sort of Vietnam in terms of its education and potential education reforms?
As I mentioned, that's why there's different situations and context between Korea in 1980s, 90s versus Vietnam now, because now it's much more global, right? In Korea at the time, going overseas was luxury, and we were a much poorer country compared to North Korea.
Right.
So people could only go out when there was scholarship, right? So there was a lot of scholarship from the U.S. government and also from the private donors such as Samsung and Hyundai. They were making very selective, but good investment on the next generation. And those conglomerates were helping those top talent, but poor, to go overseas and study. Now, Vietnam, as I agree, I see a lot of young talent, good talent, with some good family background, go overseas, US, Canada, UK, Australia, which I think is great because they certainly have more advanced and history and knowledge of the accumulated knowledge of the content and then training. The key in my view is how we attract them to come back. So the important part will be how we attract them to come back to the also right industry, and also to some of them should come back to academy, to university to train the next generation. They'll be important.
Right.
I think China has been doing well in that context, bring those Chinese back to the country and giving high incentive, right? It will be combination of both financial and non-financial package, right? And also giving the right role with the right autonomy, some level of they feel having some level of autonomy for their academic development, but also for the industry as well.
Yes.
So they'll be the key.
Yeah. Well, you've had a long career at BCG, I believe over 20 years. I imagine you've seen a lot of different markets and had a lot of different clients. What is it about Vietnam that you think will allow it to achieve this very ambitious goal over the next 20 years of becoming a high income, a high productivity nation?
Yep. When I look at Vietnam, and there was some of decision point for me 5 years ago when I was moving to Vietnam, why I want to move to Vietnam, where I see a potential. I think number one is the people, the talent here are very, very incentivized and committed. And they want to get better. They want to be better. Some of other ASEAN countries I've worked with, many of them were not. They were not really committed, not strong incentive motivation. But when I talk to people here, and also across not just the senior government officers, senior executive, young talent, there's very strong motivation of developing themselves and also growing to next level and succeeding. That's very important foundation, very, very important cultural component to make the country stronger. Right? And number two, the country, when I say governance, they're fast adopting, very open mind. They are open to hear different views. That's also one of the important decision making factor for me. When I was talking to CEO, deputy CEO, they're very eager to learn. They want to learn from the overseas experience. So they were listening, they're spending time with me. They're taking notes when I was speaking, and they were converting those knowledge and learning to the execution, the policies, and the practice. Right? And not many countries can do that. And the government still organize every day, every week, those forums invite foreign experts and listening, the prime minister taking notes to those different views and converting that to the action is very, very important. And I saw that, I have seen it. I'm still seeing that in Vietnam, which is a very important part of the growth.
Now, I imagine there's a lot of similarities in terms of, like you said, that ambition and drive to learn, to improve. That's very similar from Korea and other East Asian Sino-Confucian countries,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Um, there's some BCG data that I read that 70% of Vietnam's exports are still in sort of the low to mid-value manufacturing tiers. What will it take for Vietnam to kind of move up the value chain and in terms of complexity and what I'll call sort of high complexity goods?
Yes. So there will be few steps, few
Yeah.
things important. First of all, we need to enhance in our local domestic value chain, especially the value chain associated with the FDI, right? So far, a lot of investment have been those FDI coming here, leveraging local labors in their value chain. So Vietnam have been taking low value chain part versus those FDI taking the higher side of value chain, right? And we need to expand it. We start from the here, but we expand to the higher value chain. We expand to the R&D, for example, or design angle of the industry. So within that value chain, let's go up and go further. That's the important part. The second, I talk about talent. I will not say more about the talent, but it's extremely important. That's the biggest gap we have. I was talking to one of Southeast Asian representative of Indian conglomerate
Yes.
in Singapore.
Right.
And he mentioned that in India, every year they generate a few 100,000 engineers
Right.
every year. He was asking how many skilled engineers Vietnam produce every year.
That's a good question. Do you
It's
know
a very
that number?
important question. I don't know the number,
Yeah.
but it's probably less than 10,000. Right? So the talent, growing the high skill engineer will be important. And that requires certain level of collaboration between universities, education system, and the private sector. But we need to generate the talent which industry requires. Right? Number three, my view is we still need to deepen and improve our financial sector, especially the capital sector. Because the one thing which FDI bring is the capital, not only the skills, they bring a lot of capital, right? So while we have good public investment from the government, the role of the private investment is extremely important. So how we sophisticate, advance the capital market, including bonds, right? Including different type of the financial vehicles will be important, right? Because we need more capital, more investment to grow the private sectors. And this is also these days, this game of the scale. Building scale is extremely important to win the domestic, but also the global, which require not just the labors, but also the capital investment.
We're obviously in the beginning of a new cycle of leadership that's right now being selected, and the new government will take over at the beginning of next year. What critical policies and reforms do you think this new generation of leadership in Vietnam will need to implement for Vietnam to really kind of unleash and increase its level of competitiveness?
The first of all, typically consultants are very, very skeptical people. That's how we learn, right? Make a question, be skeptical, maybe sometimes be negative on the situation. But when I look at new leadership, new government policy, I really love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. They really know what are the important factors for the country to grow. They're putting the right resolution, right policies.
Right.
Of course, execution will be an important part. So I really love the current direction of the government to boost the economy, to boost the private sectors. For next 10, 20 years, there still will be a few important factors, especially on those advanced technology and high value manufacturing. And
Yeah.
also some of the service sector, which is important part of the growth. Right?
Yeah.
The first one, I think we still need to pay a lot of attention to power energy. AI data center consumes a lot of energy and powers.
Right.
Right. I think country is going to the right direction. There has been discussion about nuclear, for example, SMR. There are a lot of right angles of the PPA, policies and encouragement. But we need to keep doing and continuing our journey on improving the stability and also the quantity of the power and energy. Number two, as I mentioned, the talent. I always say about talent. Number three, once again, the capital. Having a much more transparent, high growth, incentivizing capital market will be foundation of the every single sectors. Right? Number four, I think the infrastructure is important. I talk about power already, but some of the like highways, high-speed rail, once again, the government is understanding, is making right investment, but just we need to keep paying a right attention to infrastructure development. The logistics cost in domestic still very high compared to some other countries. It's subscale. There's so many different logistic companies. We need to scale this up. We need to consolidate, make the cost of logistics very, very efficient. That will really increase the competitiveness of our value chain, our industry, compared to the global standard. Right? Number five is we need to really think about high value chain export. And yes, we have been exporting the rice. We have been exporting some of the those smartphone invest by FDI. Right? So as I mentioned in my previous presentation, we need to grow the national champion. National champion, first dominating the local market, and then having the right productivity and skill set. And those national champions, we need to help them to go out, to go overseas, make them compete, win, bring the money back to Vietnam.
Yeah. Do you think Vietnam has something to learn from the chaebol approach that many of the big corporates and private sector in Korea has pursued in terms of aligning sort of public policy making with building national champions?
Yes. So I think the many fifth different factors. One is those PPP angle, the private-public partnership, working together with the public, right? Understanding the gap which country had and making the right investment. Right? So if you look at Korea a long time ago, there was Seoul-Busan highway. Building the highway infrastructure was done by Hyundai.
Right. Right.
Was orchestrated, coordinated by the government, but Hyundai had the right support to build that infrastructure highway.
Yes.
Which create a lot of advantage on logistics cost and the speed of logistics. And I'm seeing the similar thing in Vietnam now. Right? So working together with the public, right, filling those gaps of the infrastructures or those industry gap is important. Those partnership angle. Right? The second angle is the synergy between the ecosystem.
Yes.
Right? Those conglomerate, they have a lot of different industries under the one umbrella. They have holding company, and those conglomerates, Samsung, Hyundai, LG, they have very different sector focus and creating the right synergy in terms of talent, the customers, back office, middle office, the productivity. So making the synergy across the subsidiaries for the conglomerate is very, very important. Number three, which is also very important, is a lot of those conglomerate is owner-driven.
Yeah.
The chairman, right? The advantage of having the owner and chairman is speed of decision and execution. Right?
Yes.
Of course, you need to hope that that decision is the right decision. Right? The chairman can make very important decision, not only the short term, but long term. Right? The first generation of chairman, Samsung made an investment on semiconductor.
Yes.
In 1970s.
1970, yeah.
And everybody was against the chairman. Lee Byung-chul that we cannot win semiconductor. Japan is dominating. There's no way for us to win in semiconductor. It was 1970s. The chairman made a decision looking forward a decade, 10, 20, 30 years of the industry and made the decisions. Right? Only chairman, the owner can make decisions. Right? So making the right decision, the speed is important, and bringing that to the execution is advantage of owner-driven company. That's very important part for Vietnam conglomerates and look around. And I'm seeing the similar trend, a very strong and smart talent owners making the decisions.
Yes. No,
Right.
that's great. Well, Dong, thank you for sharing a lot of your insights and experience. I know BCG is doing good work here, and I look forward to continuing to have you at all of our different events. Thanks.
Thank you, Henry, and thank you, Bloomberg, for
Yes.
inviting me for
Yeah.
this
No,
important
likewise.
event.
Thank
My
you.
honor has been here today.
Yeah.
Thank you.